Black Myth Wukong on the PS5 Pro. How good is it versus the base PS5 version? And indeed, on the PS5 Pro, which mode should you be playing in? Quite often in these performance mode versus quality mode comparisons, I can barely see the difference, so it is performance mode all the way for me. But this game could be different, as there is a distinct and very obvious difference between the modes. Could this be the time where balanced mode is actually the perfect fit? Alright, I'm going to start off near the beginning of the game, and this is in performance mode, so that sort of fake 60 frames a second. I'll come to why I'm saying it's fake 60 frames a second in a moment, but it does kind of work, but you do get a much softer picture compared to the quality mode. If you're not used to that quality mode and you look at this, you may think it's perfectly acceptable, but there are some parts of the game which look absolutely terrible in this mode, and we'll come to them in just a second because the first part is literally just around the corner. But yeah, it looks okay. Remember that YouTube will damage the image quality of even a 4K video when trying to compare these things, but when you change to a quality mode, there's a distinct difference in real life. So let's go to this, go down to display. As it says there, performance mode lowers resolution to achieve higher frame rates. Balance and quality mode actually use PSSR for this to enhance the visual quality, balancing resolution and frame rate with balance mode, and quality mode lowering frame rate to achieve higher resolution. So basically what you gain in one hand, you lose in the other. So let's go to quality mode and compare the difference. I don't know if you can see that on the video because, like I say, YouTube videos do compress the image so you get a lower image quality, but it is massively sharper, massively clearer looking than what I was looking at a moment ago. It's absolutely a huge difference. It really is a lot sharper than performance mode. But we do get this 30 frames a second now, which I'm not particularly a fan of. It's okay when running forward and things like that, you barely notice it. When you come to turning around though and things like that, I'm very intolerant of this sort of thing. I really notice 30 frames a second. So for me, I'm not a fan of quality mode, even though it is just that much sharper and the image overall is a lot crisper than performance mode. I just can't deal with that 30 frames a second. So let's go back to that performance mode again, and then we'll take a quick look at balanced mode, which is kind of the in-between mode, if you like. So this is performance mode again. Don't know if you can see it on the video, but like I say, it is distinctly softer looking, but we do get that nice 60 frames a second. Now I'm going to go around the corner because there's something I want you to see, and the difference here is absolutely huge. I noticed this instantly. I thought this water effect here looked kind of bad, like really bad. It didn't look like water at all. It looks like sort of sifting sand, almost like drifting sand. Looks like mucky sludge. It's very indistinct and murky. It looks really horrible. It's really grainy and mucky, and this is in performance mode. It looks absolutely horrible. I hope it's showing up in the video because it just looks an absolute mess. Got to be honest, it does look absolutely terrible. It looks like sludge going down there. So I'll just leave it on that so you can just become accustomed to how that looks like for a few seconds. Or that really bad sort of shimmery effect. It's absolutely horrible. If we change it to quality mode, the difference is a lot better. It looks a lot more like water now. It's still got that slight sludgy effect, but it looks overall much better. I'm still standing in exactly the same place. It doesn't look like that weird, terrible sort of artifacty effect going on, which looks absolutely shocking. It looks a lot more realistic at the cost of frame rate. We are down to 30 frames a second again here. So if we change now for the first time to balanced mode, this is a combination of both balancing resolution and frame rate. What we get is literally the best of both worlds. It doesn't look quite as good as the quality mode, but the water looks a lot better than what it did a minute ago in that performance mode. It looks literally somewhere in between. It still looks acceptable to when you're playing the game. I didn't even look for this. I just ran up to this area and stood in the water when I was playing performance mode, and I thought, my god, this water looks absolutely terrible. And that's what made me sort of swap mode and have a look around. But we get a reasonable frame rate like this. It's not silky smooth at 60 frames a second, but it's not that slightly juddery 30 frames a second either. It's literally somewhere in between, which is not too bad. So let's swap back to performance mode again, because we'll see the same kind of thing happen again in a minute. Now, the reason this looks... oh my god, look how bad it looks. It's absolutely horrendous. But the reason this looks so bad is because the 60 frames a second mode isn't actually 60 frames a second. It's just a lower resolution version using FSR 3, I think it is, frame gen. So it's actually running at 30 frames a second and then creating another 30 frames of fake frames. So it looks kind of bad. It looks like really bad. So yeah, that's kind of why it looks... I mean, it's okay on the frame rate, but to me, the way that looks is absolutely semi-horrendous. Let's take a look at another watery scene here. See this here? You think, okay, this looks actually kind of better. It's got a little bit more clarity to it. It looks more like water. Kind of acceptable. But when you look at it, and I'm not trying to overanalyze, because I'm not one of these people that stops and nitpicks. I'm not one of these people that tries to look for faults. I just play a game. For me, a visual fault is only like a visual fault if it just stands out as blatantly obvious. And this water, for me, stood out as blatantly obvious. Not too bad from this angle, but when you look around from here, again, it looks like flowing sludge, like flowing mud. It doesn't look like flowing water at all. It's really artifacty. It's really grainy, looks absolutely horrible. So let's take a look at the difference again when we change to quality mode. This is a lot better. It looks like it's got more depth. Still not perfect. I don't think the graphics in this game are particularly wonderful. We've got to be absolutely honest. A lot of people raved about it a bit, but for me, when you look at a game like God of War or Ragnarok and things like that, and you see what that is doing with the graphics at 60 frames a second and looking absolutely fantastic, this game to me doesn't look like the same level as God of War Ragnarok, but it's still got these issues, these performance issues in places. So again, at 30 frames a second, I can still see the judderiness. I can still see the water flow isn't that smooth just because of the frame rate, but it does actually look a little bit better. So let's swap now to, performance mode, or balance mode rather. Again, the balance between the two. Now to me, this looks really good. The water looks, to me, even better than it did in quality mode a minute ago. Mainly because it's moving at a smoother frame rate now, making it look more realistic, more like flowing water. And it looks alright. It does look reasonably like a flowing water scene, which is exactly what it's supposed to do. Pretty good. Let's just go back to that performance mode again, just to see the distinct difference between how bad it looks. Not as bad as the other scene, but oh my god, look how mucky it looks straight away. It looks all wrong. It's all shimmery and horrible. It doesn't look very good at all. So let's stay in this mode for a minute. Let's get into a little scrap here. Oh, let's say. Let's use a little bit of health. There we go. Yeah, there's like effect here. It doesn't look real at all. It looks like, I don't know what it looks like, but it doesn't look like flowing water. It looks, I don't know, like flowing cotton wool. I have no idea what it looks like, but it looks bad. So let's go to the mode where I think I'd end up playing this game in on the Pro, which is balance mode. Much better. It's like more frothy water there now, rather than looking like just fake goodness knows what it looked like. But it looks definitely a lot better. And we have a reasonable frame rate. Nothing fantastic, still just okay, but it's okay. It's manageable, it's doable in this mode. Right, so back to performance mode. Let's have a little feel of how combat feels. Feels responsive enough. Not too bad. Doesn't feel as responsive as a normal 60 frames a second mode, because it's been obviously faked to a degree if you want to look at it like that. But it's okay. Just, I can't deal with the way the water looks and things like that. It's just, looks just wrong to me. And the graphics just go a little bit murky now and again, like here. Again, it's okay. But, I don't know. I'm trying to like it in performance mode, but I just can't. Even the way that water moves there, look. It doesn't look like water. It looks like he's moving through some sort of treacle or slime. It's just really bad. This is the worst performance mode I think I've seen in the game. On the Pro. It was like literally like treacle. Let's compare this to balanced mode again. I mean, it's good that these options are here. Obviously, you can pick. It's still got that slight sort of treacly effect going on. Looks like the water's really thick, if you know what I mean. It doesn't look like normal water or regular water or whatever. But overall, I prefer the look of the game like this in balanced mode compared to performance mode. I think that's the first time I've ever actually had that. I just realised I'm in need of a little bit of a health drink. So overall, I would say for on the Pro, this is the way to play it for me. Balanced mode for the first time just gives me literally the balance of both worlds, the best of both worlds. Get nice crisper graphics. I don't get that horrible effect on the water which seems to manifest itself every single time we come across water in a scene, which seems to be quite often in this game. And the frame rate is just about acceptable. It makes it playable enough. It's not as smooth as 60 frames a second, but I just don't like the way the graphics look in the performance mode. I've tried it. I tried to get used to it, but I can't. It's like normally I'm not even a fan of these balanced modes because I do like 60 frames a second, but it just looks a little bit wrong to me in various number of ways. So let's come across this watery scene again. Again, it's got that sort of slightly treacly effect going on, but it's not as bad as it was in performance mode, and the graphics are still reasonably crisp. They're not as crisp as in quality mode. It's literally a balance between the two. But let's just switch back again to the performance mode one last time, just to show the difference, because it is very noticeable. Much more noticeable in real life, I would say. Not quite as noticeable on a YouTube video, but now instantly looks like it's just a murky game, if you know what I mean. And the water effect is almost gone completely. It's hardly moving. And what is there? It looks like it's made of super thick treacle. So yeah, it's like for me, unless there's a really good reason to want to play this mode, like you really massively prefer the 60 frames a second or the fake 60 frames a second if you like, then for me balanced mode is the way to play this on the PlayStation 5 Pro. There's a video. If you enjoyed it, it'd be really cool if you bash that like and subscribe button. It really does help. But most of all, thanks for watching, and I'll catch you again in the next one. Bye for now.